One thing common to all humanity for millennia is our universal pursuit of bread. In circumstances of poverty and want, bread was, and in some places still is, the only food to eat. But a closer look at this satiating staple of survival reveals a food as remarkably diverse as humanity itself. Human reliance on bread might suggest that it is easier to produce than other foods. But bread does not fall off trees like ripe mangoes. It cannot be milked from a bovine. It won't be fished out of a river or collected from a hen's nest. Unlike these ready-made options, almost a dozen steps are needed to produce a loaf of bread. Not easy steps either. Bread making involves substantial time, effort, and ingenuity, and its pursuit precipitated the creation of numerous instruments and other inventions. In Judaism, bread making gained an extra degree of scrutiny as a result of the Torah's ban on performing labor on Shabbat. In this context, labor is defined as one of 39 creative actions, 11 of which are the steps that the ancient sages labeled the bread-making process. 1. Plowing. Bread comes from grain that sprouts from the soil. To prepare soil for planting, it is cleared, leveled, and broken up, sometimes more than once. For this purpose, the plow was invented some 5 millennia ago. 2. Sowing. Seeds are spread evenly in furrows and then buried within the soil. It takes several months for grain to grow. Meanwhile, the earth is irrigated where possible, and farmers pray hard for rain where irrigation is not possible. And the earth is fertilized, weeded, and guarded from hungry critters and creatures. 3. Reaping. Once the stalks are fully grown and ripened, they require harvesting. For this laborious task, tools such as the sickle and the scythe were invented. 4. Binding sheaves. Cut wheat is gathered into bundles or sheaves and left to dry in the open field or in a drying shed for several weeks. 5. Threshing. Grain stalks contain edible kernels and indigestible chaff. The two must be forced apart. Before the advent of machinery, stalks were spread on a threshing floor and pounded with frails, trampled by animals, or crushed with heavy stone or wood hand rollers. 6. Winnowing. Once kernels and chaff have been forced apart, they must be separated. The mixture is tossed into the wind. The lighter chaff is blown like dust to one side, while the heavier kernels fall back down and are caught in a basket. 7. Selecting. Smaller chaff fragments and other inedible impurities remain mixed with the grain without a machine. These must be painstakingly removed by hand. 8. Milling. The kernels are ground finely into flour. Animal-powered millstone, steam-powered watermill, and windmills were invented for this purpose. 9. Sifting. Kernels are multi-layered, which gives the flour multiple components. Flour is sifted to separate these elements for the sake of producing bread varieties, whole wheat, white bread, and the like. 10. Kneading. Flour is mixed with water and additional ingredients, if desired, and thoroughly kneaded together. The dough is left to rise to give the breads its uniquely satisfying texture and flavor. Variations in this process account for the staggering diversity of bread types. 11. Baking. This was done over heated stones and the like, until the invention of the oven brought us the full-bodied breads we enjoy today. Satisfying perhaps, but for most of history, bread making was incredibly time-consuming and multiple labor demanding. And despite the huge investment of land, seed, labor, and patience, success was far from guaranteed. Weather, be it drought, sandy blasts, withheld rains, excessive rainfall, flooding, excessive chill or heat, or wildfire could ruin it all, leaving a farmer with nary a crumb. Even with today's incredible farming machinery and other technologies that feed into industrial bakeries at a pace once unimaginable, a single loaf remains a complex process that requires each of these 11 steps. Which leaves us wondering, why have humans consistently insisted on investing so much time and difficult labor into gaining slices of this grain-based nourishment?